Hail and greetings all, Ragnarok Prepper here. I just wanted to take a moment to bring this plant to your attention. It's another wild medicinal, but it's also a plant of concern for homesteaders. So let's take a little closer look. Now, as you can see here, this is the edge of the forested part of the property, and all along here you don't really see anything until you come to here. Here's where I found a large patch of the snakeroot, the white snakeroot. There are several other species that grow around. So the plant we're talking about is this plant right here with these white clusters of flowers on it. This plant stands probably about 2.5 to 3 feet tall. They do range up to 5 feet in height. They are a native perennial plant that is found all across America. This plant is called white snakeroot. Now, as you can see, the flowers are white and branched in clusters. The reason I'm bringing this up now is because towards the end of summer, the beginning of fall is normally when the snakeroot begins to flower, and that's when it's easily picked up in the landscape. We're going to go in a little closer here. So you can see the clusters here. Now the leaves themselves are opposite. They're heart-shaped and slightly serrated. And on the edges you can see here the teeth. Now they're normally found along the edge of the woodlands. They like that dappled shade to grow in. If you see a plant similar to this out in the field, then it's not going to be the white snakeroot. It's going to be another relative that we'll discuss at a later time. As this plant matures, these flowers will turn into brown or black cigar-shaped seeds hanging, and they'll have a white silky tail on them, kind of like dandelions when they mature. And these seeds here will be dispersed in the wind. Now these seeds, this plant can also be propagated by cutting the roots up in rhizomes, but you definitely don't want to do that. Now, as you can see here on this leaf, you can see the tracks and trails of the insects, actually the larva of the insect that was laid on this plant, that burrowed through the plant, leaving a trail. This is one of the beneficial parts of the plant, is that it does not seem to affect the insects who come to pollinate it and lay their larvae on it. Thankful for them. This plant has become a popular native garden plant. It does bring a lot of pollinators and bees and flies that feed on the plant itself. And then I can see several of them around here. I'll show you some of the leaves that have evidence on them. But you really don't want to handle this plant with your bare hands, and there's a reason for that we'll discuss in a moment here. But before I discuss that, I would like to make the point to always have multiple guides with you. Always confirm your identification of the plant or the herb. And if you can, have someone to back you up. Those old timers know about this plant. I'd also like to say that I am A, not a doctor, B, not a botanist. I'm simply Ragnarok Prepper, sharing knowledge and wisdom with you. So, This plant was renowned for its ability to be burnt. And when the smoke from that burnt herb was applied to someone who was unconscious, it was said that they would immediately awaken just from smelling the smoke from this plant being burnt. I have not tried that. This plant also, the root, just the root, was made into a tea that would serve as a stimulant, a tonic, and a diuretic. It would be used to treat fevers, diarrhea, urinary gravel, aka kidney stones. It also was used to treat venereal diseases. And the root would be made into a poultice that was said to be able to cure snake bites. Now we're going to get into why this plant was infamous at one time. It is famously toxic. During the 19th century America, there was a disease which was very serious and often fatal. It was a neurological disorder known as the trembles or milk sickness. What was odd about this is that this disease would disappear after the first frost of every year. It baffled doctors at the time. They couldn't figure out what was going on because this disease would also affect cows, sheep, and other livestock that were grazing the fields. People would drink the milk of the livestock that consumed the fresh plant and then contract the disease as well. After claiming thousands of lives, it was determined that this plant, white snakeroot, contains a toxin. It's actually an alcohol in the fresh plant itself called trematol. Now, trematol is destroyed once the plant dies, or if it's heated or dried in the sun. But consuming this fresh plant will cause milk sickness. It also, as I said, if you as a homesteader are grazing your animals and you are drinking the milk from your cow or from your goat, the milk could contain trematol, which would result in you and your livestock contracting milk sickness. Now, you want to keep an eye out for the symptoms of milk sickness, which are severe vomiting, tremors, liver failure, constipation, delirium, and resulting in death. This is definitely a plant that you do not want to be anywhere near your livestock. It's easily identifiable once you know what it is, and all you have to do is in late summer, early fall, take a walk around your property and see if you notice it growing anywhere near your livestock. This patch here that I've found and all the plants that I have found growing on the property here are on the complete opposite side of where the livestock are. So that's calming to me. But I am going to have to look into some manner of moving or removing this plant from this area here, because this is a location that I was planning on moving my sheep to. But as homesteaders know, plans change, we adapt. All right, so what I wanted to do is dig one of these out and show you what the root looks like. I'd also like to remind you that if you are going to break or take any chance of snapping a stem or touching root, remember, you're going to want to wear gloves. Trematol is an alcohol-based toxin that will seep into your skin. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather not take a chance. So we're just going to try and dig under this right here. And see what we can find. So as you can see, here is the white snake root plant that I isolated. I'm just going to break the dirt here. So we can look at these roots here. And as you can see, a lot of long stringy roots. They have a slight bump right here, a ball, also known as a rhizome. That's what plant you would use, part of the plant that you would use medicinally. But this whole stem, as well as the root right now, is flowing with the trematol. That's what I do not want my plants to be, pardon me, I don't want my livestock to be consuming at any time. So I'm going to have to mark this in the back of my mind and be sure to check on it each year. And next year I'll look for it more in an immature form before the flowers bloom and see what type of population we have here. But I'm going to let this plant dry so that I can add some more of the rhizomes to the stalks. Guys, Ragnarok Pepper here. I hope you enjoyed learning about this dangerous homestead plant, and that this knowledge serves you and your family well, whether it be from a snake bite or preventing milk sickness. Until next we meet, be well.